Hello, Craig James here from MasculinityByDesign.com. This is the Masculine by Design Mancast. Today's podcast is on the topic of masculine men owning their body, because without owning your body, I believe it's impossible for you to own your masculinity. So the holiday season passed not that long ago. It's about a month ago. Was Christmas, and that's the one time of year, or one of a few times throughout the year, that I kind of let down my normal nutritional standards, and I'll let myself eat whatever I want, junk food, desserts, whatever, soda. I kind of go nuts during that week or so around Christmas time. So if I'm at a family gathering or maybe at home and there's leftovers here, I enjoy myself. I indulge, and I think that's okay. Nothing wrong with that from time to time, as long as it doesn't become a habit, and I never let it get to that point. But and the reason I don't let it get to that point is because I think that as a masculine man, we should be aligned with the fact that we have one body, we have one mind, one body that we have a responsibility to care for, and the way that we treat our bodies has an impact on so many things. Our quality of life is directly impacted by how we treat our bodies, how we train our bodies, how we feed our bodies. And so our quality of life is directly proportional to these things, in terms of our health, our form and function that we get from what we do to our bodies, how we treat it. And so I place a high priority on that. Again, I have one body that I've been given, and my health and physical appearance is important to me. It's one of the highest priorities for me, to be honest, and that's why I'm intentional about training my body with weights, feeding it in moderation. I don't overeat on a regular basis. I don't eat junk food or processed foods very often. For the most part, I'm eating nutritious whole foods, and it's made a huge difference in my life. But as I said, over the course of the holidays, I usually let loose a little bit. And I wrote a post about this on MasculinityByDesign.com. You can read that at MasculinityByDesign.com/own your body, own your masculinity, with hyphens between each of those words. That's own your body, own your masculinity. What I wrote in that post was just how I felt after that week of just kind of throwing caution to the wind with my diet and eating whatever I wanted. And it was really a kind of a slow realization for me as to how that affected me. I found myself after a week or so, after Christmas, of just eating a bunch of junk leftovers and spending time with family and friends. And I got to the end of that week, and I was having trouble with writing or just staying focused. I didn't really have much motivation to lift. My sex drive was a lot lower than it usually would be, and I finally realized, I was kind of in like a food hangover. My body was reeling from all the crap that I had been feeding. I was treating it like a trash can, and that was the result. I mean, the body responds to that, right? I didn't have the energy I used to have. My focus was gone. I was easily distracted. And so the best way that I can describe this is that I felt like my body had been drained of its masculinity, at least partially. And so when I noticed that, and I thought about how my body had been changed by just just 1 week of the way I was feeding it, and I didn't really exercise a lot that week, and my motivation to do that was kind of gone as well. And it just made me realize that that's what most men in society, in Western society today, that's their day-to-day life. That's how they eat. They eat that way. They eat junk food. Their typical day is filled with donuts, cereals, sodas, ice cream, fast food, pizza, whatever else, processed foods that make up a majority of calories in most male Western diets today. And it just, I don't know, it just really hit me hard that these emasculating qualities that I was experiencing, and it was I don't know, really drab for me. Like, I don't know, I felt like my outlook on life wasn't quite what it usually is, and it just really almost made me feel sorry for how guys have to live through this on a day-to-day basis. Now, it's easy for us to kind of make excuses, with all the poor nutritional choices around us. I mean, our America in particular has made it really easy to eat unhealthy. I mean, to just treat the body like crap. We have fast food around every corner. It's so convenient. At my work, there's vending machines with soda and all kinds of candy and just crap. But there's nothing there. There's no fruit. There's no lean meats. There's nothing there that is nutritious and healthy. And so if you want to stay away from those things, it takes a lot of planning. So it's really easy to fall into that trap of just feeding your body with a bunch of sugars and refined fats and flours, just crap that's inflammatory and makes your body respond negatively. But even though those things might be easier to eat and they're readily available, it's not a mandate that we eat them. In fact, I stay away from them because I know what they're going to do to me. It's a choice that we make when we eat those foods. And again, I think that choice has really wreaked a lot of havoc on the lives of men today. It's taken their testosterone levels and plummeted them. It stripped them of their ability to have that sharp focus that they've been designed for, to be productive, high energy, motivated, ambitious, sexually invigorated, and just have a positive outlook on life, to be excited for what life holds, and to work towards something better for themselves. And I believe that it's impossible for a man to achieve his masculine potential going through life this way. And this is exactly what we see around us, And on top of that, the risk associated with that it's scary in its own right. I mean, just by living that way, the risk that you take on of having a debilitating disease later in life, dying prematurely, being obese, having womanly testosterone levels, being unhappy and in a sexless marriage, being depressed, not earning as much money because you can't think straight and you don't have enough energy and drive to succeed in your job, having a diminished satisfaction with work because your outlook just isn't there anymore. The ability to raise healthy children is pretty much gone because your children are going to look at what you're doing and they're going to follow suit. So, when you think about that, I mean, what kind of example do you think a man sets for his family, for his wife and his children, when he treats his body that way? I mean, that's not leadership. Well, I guess it is. It's leadership. It's setting an example, but it's leading with a poor example. It's like the blind leading the blind. You're going into a ditch and you're taking your family with you. Or what do you think having a fat, unhealthy body communicates to others about your self-confidence, self-discipline, and self-worth? I mean, as the head of your family, your kids, your family, your wife, they look to you to provide an example to them of how to best live. And you may not like that. You may wish that they didn't look to you in that regard, but they do. They observe by your actions what's important to you, and they follow suit. And so when you're living a life that's unhealthy, when you don't put the level of self-discipline that caring for your body requires in your life, they see that. You're passing down those unhealthy, dangerous habits to your wife and your children. And you have to understand that when you're doing that, you're not only impacting your children. That is a chain that will continue. Your children will pass those habits down to their children, and then they will pass the same habits down to their children until somebody puts a chink in that chain. That's going to continue down throughout the generations. Is that the kind of legacy that you want to leave behind as the leader of your clan? I surely hope not. It's definitely not the kind of legacy I want to leave behind. And when we meet people, the way we look, our physical appearance, it's one of the first things that they do to size us up. And we all do it too. When you meet somebody, you're always taking them in before you ever talk to them. You're taking in their physical appearance. You're making judgments and deducing from what you can see some things about that person. And when somebody sees you or a man who's overweight or obese, it immediately communicates a lack of self-discipline immediately, and it's deserving. If a man will not take care of his body, what would be pretty much the most valuable thing to anybody, that says that he's probably lacking self-discipline in every other area in his life as well. Now, I know men where this isn't the case, where they have a lot of self-discipline in certain areas, but they just struggle with their eating and exercise for whatever reasons. And for them, that may not be fair, but it's still reality. People make those first impressions whether you want them to or not. And so, whether it's fair or not, that remains to be seen, but it is reality. So you can either choose to play by those rules or, play by your own, but reality usually wins. So I suggest you play by its rules. And then, the other challenge that we have is that so many men are being convinced that living this way is okay, that it's acceptable. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we have the feminists and beta males among us that, trivialize this epidemic of soft, uninitiated men, that telling them that dad bods are sexy, and telling, masculine men that they shouldn't fat shame or body shame, other men because they aren't healthy and they're not strong and they lack masculine characteristics. And what they don't understand is that, I don't care what somebody thinks about me. If I'm doing what I know is in their best interest, they can be pissed off at me. They can be mad. They can cuss me out. I don't care. And masculine men shouldn't care. We need to speak the truth. We need to tell people not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. So while these feminists and beta males might bring a false sense of comfort to the emasculated men among us, they're keeping them in their terrible position. They're encouraging them to continue to be fat, unhealthy, and emasculated. And I can't stand by while that happens. I have to say something. It may hurt some feelings, but sometimes it takes some hurt feelings in order for somebody to realize that they need to change. They need to take some action to better their situation. I can't sit by and watch other men eat their way to a development of obesity or heart disease or diabetes. I can't do that. That's not virtuous. That's not what a man of courage and conviction does. A man of courage and conviction speaks the truth, and that's what we're called to do. All the guys around us that are battling with this, perversion of having a dad bod and being told that it's healthy to be that way. They need to hear the truth. Encouraging them down that path of self-destruction. It's cowardly and it's heartless. There's no love in that. Hurting someone's feelings by telling them the truth, that's valuable to them. It's destructive to them if we don't do those things. And so I could care less what somebody thinks of me. I'm gonna tell somebody what they need to hear. Never forget that it's always unacceptable to remain silent when we see somebody on a path of destruction. It's always unacceptable. That as much as we're told in society today that when we warn people of sinful behaviors or things that are destructive on their lives, they're always quick to tell us we shouldn't judge others and whatever other platitudes they want to speak to us to try to make us feel bad for telling somebody that they're on a path of destruction. We're doing our job. We're doing what we need to do. That's the loving thing to do. If we saw somebody in a building that was burning, we tell them what's going on and we try to get them out. And that's what we do for guys who are emasculated, who are stuck in a life that's completely separated from their masculinity, causing them to be discontent and depressed. We have to call them out of that. And that's part of my mission with masculinitybydesign.com. It's part of my mission with these podcasts. That's my mission with my book, Masculine by Design. So as I came to this epiphany of just how my body was reeling from 1 week of eating terrible foods and not treating it the way I usually treat it, it just made me realize that a lot of men out there, they need to hear this truth. They need to know that the way they feed their body and not exercising, not lifting weights, that has a really noticeable impact on their bodies and on their lives. It is keeping them from being who they were created to be, from reaching their potential. We don't always equate the food we eat and our exercise and the way we treat our body to those things, but it really does impact every aspect of our lives. The way we feed our body, the nutrition it gets, the sleep we give it, the amount of exercise we give it, and just taking care of our bodies, it impacts everything. And so I'm hoping that by hearing this, some of you, maybe your feelings were hurt a little bit. I'm sorry if that's the case, but you needed to hear this. You need to hear that it's time to start making better decisions for your body, decisions that you can be proud of, decisions that you'd be happy for your wife and your children and those who or your friends or in your sphere of influence would take on themselves, because it's valuable for their lives as well. So I think it's impossible for us to really own our masculinity without owning our bodies. I think that the two are part and parcel with one another. You have to own your body if you're going to own your masculinity. Your body is tied into everything that has to do with your masculinity. It has to do with your mind, your brain function, the way others perceive you, your strength, your ability to defend yourself, defend your family, your intellect, so many things come off of how you treat your body. And, I noticed this firsthand. And the only reason I noticed it was because, it was a difference from the norm for me. Usually I'm treating my body well, and I went a week of not doing that. But for most guys, they don't even know it. They have no clue that they're in this terrible situation because it's just the norm for them. They think that that's how every guy is, and I can tell you that it's not. You can get back your sex drive. You can get back a high level of energy. You can get back to having a laser-like focus in your life and ambition, and just be pissed off for success and strive for more in life and have a positive outlook. But it starts with the way that you treat your body and taking ownership over that. You have to own your body before you can own your masculinity, period. So that's it for today. This is Craig James from MasculinityByDesign.com. If you haven't already, please go to MasculinityByDesign.com and pick up your free copy of my book, Masculine by Design. Learn about the 4 principles that I write about in there. Some of that covers health and nutrition, and there's a few other really good tidbits of information in there that you can follow and start taking action on right away to reclaim your repressed masculinity. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, please do that, @MasculineDesign. I look forward to interacting with you there. And until next time, this is Craig James. I'm out.